Okay, so with that, again, welcome everyone. Today is our first official Fair Election Fund meeting. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Unless otherwise indicated, this meeting will occur on the second Wednesday of each month. As we just spoke, as of yesterday, there is a public Teams meeting link. Should anyone want to attend, they are welcome to do so. Each meeting will be hosted by the Fund Commission members, but also in attendance will be the Department of Finance and Jeff, it is official, the Fair Election Fund Administrator, Nadine O'Lantern, which is myself. And last but not least, Jeff Hotsettler from who is the Chief Solicitor from the City of Baltimore Law Department. So with that, I will share my screen. Let's hope it works this time. And let me know if you can see my screen. You can? Great. Okay, so what I did prior to the meeting, just based on some other conversations we've had, and since our last meeting on August 23rd, there were just some notes and bullet points that I thought we would go over that might help us start our discussion. So as of yesterday, as we just spoke about, there is now a public-facing link for the public if they wish to attend this recurring meeting. I know that we have a requirement and we're working on a summary guide and FAQs in the Spanish translation. A few months ago, we learned that our service contract had lapsed, and I'm still waiting to re-signed a new contract and that we can resume processing requests for translations. This we also spoke about last meeting briefly. Jeff and I comprised a training video for the commission, and I did receive John's edits. Thank you very much. Very helpful. And Charlie just gave me hers, and I will update that training video slide presentation by the end of the week. The president and city council, their nominees, which we have been anxiously waiting for, I'm told are now in the mayor's office. There will be an introduction on September 18th, and the confirmation date is to be determined. And at that time, I'm told also that the commission members are welcome to attend that confirmation. I will try to make this one. Let's see, agenda building. Since we're talking about agendas, I thought it would be a good idea for us to discuss how we would like that agenda for each meeting on the second Wednesday of each month to come together. Whether you would like Jeff and I to go over prior issues or any communications that we receive in between meetings, or have the commission bullet points for discussion, or how you would just all like that to come together so that we have an agenda at the beginning of each meeting. John made a very good suggestion that we touched on just lightly in the last meeting, to have a request link added to the website should an organization, thanks to John attending the Republican public event, representing the commission for that, that we have a link if anybody would like for somebody to come be present or make a presentation as part of outreach and training. And again, Charlie, in between meetings, that's a good point. I saw in her email, thought it would be a good idea to talk about nominations. Congratulations. And other commission roles that you might want to nominate and or appoint. And then with that, we have any additional items and discussion items that you all may have come with this evening. And so there we go. How would you like to start?
We might as well start at the beginning.
Okay.
And move our way down.
All right, so we can go back to the requirement to record the meetings, which we are currently doing. And Jeff, will those meeting notes should we post them on the website as well by date?
Yeah, if this recording will serve as the meeting minutes, you can
Under
just
the
post
meeting tab?
you can just post a
Okay.
link. Yeah, a link next to each meeting date, and a link to this video.
Okay.
And then the same with the agendas, for each upcoming meeting. There should be a public agenda posted, usually at least 24 hours in advance. So it was a good question to ask how the commission wants to go about, formulating an agenda for each meeting.
Okay.
And what's the deadline for minutes? Like when do we want, or the recordings are going to be posted immediately?
Yeah, I think it's
or within
the
a
language
couple
is as soon as practicable. So, as soon as Nadine can get the request up to the website administrator.
Is there a requirement for closed captioning, or can we make sure that we add that for folks for accessibility purposes?
I think Ken could do that. I think if
I'm not an expert on Teams, so I don't know.
yeah, I know PowerPoint can do closed caption. I don't know about Teams. I can imagine, but that's a good question. We'll find out. I know Drupal is in the process of changing versions because of the requirement, ADA requirements. So I'll find out exactly how that will work. If not, when that will be available. Okay, and so we talked about the Spanish translation. Hopefully that service will be available to us then or soon, that we can get that translation posted to the website as well. We talked about the training video being updated. And then as soon as that is done, I will send a final draft out to all board members again. And hopefully you'll enjoy reviewing it one final time, and then it will be available to you to use. Okay. We talked about the president and city council nominees deadline, or hopefully confirmation date coming soon. And then agenda building. So back to Jeff's point, how would you like the agenda to come together prior to meetings, and how soon before? I know we have that 24-hour deadline, but so that all commission members have the opportunity to offer input, how do you want it to come together, and what does that timeline look like?
I mean, it makes sense that the items, to take notes from the items that came up that weren't finished, we didn't finish discussing from the previous meeting, and then add to it any things that come up. You add to it if you any email requests that come in, and then if that can be circulated to the commission like a week out, we can add other items that might be missing, and that gives us time to post it 24 hours before. I'm open, like, if anybody else has other suggestions.
Sorry, I was trying to get off mute. So yeah, no, I think all that makes sense in terms of who owns it. I mean, it would probably be helpful if I can volunteer you, Nadine. If you're the central point, we can send those out maybe 2-3 days in advance, maybe the Monday before the meeting. It gets circulated for review, and if anybody thought of anything else, it can be sort of our last chance to add something. Obviously, we can throw an agenda item at the bottom that says, anything else, that,
Okay.
because something could come up even during the meeting that we want to go deeper on. So.
Yeah, you're definitely allowed to deviate from the posted agenda. Nothing, but yeah, as long as there's sort of a good faith effort to get one up there at least 24 hours in advance.
Okay.
Yes, would that work for you then, Nadine? If you circulated the one, and maybe it wouldn't, it'd have to go out a couple days before that, so we could get your changes back on Monday, and then you could make whatever changes and post it on Tuesday.
Sure, that's fine.
Okay, so whatever works for you, I would imagine it's fine with the rest of us.
Okay.
Do you think it's helpful to have time set aside in the meeting to do like a questions, a Q&A, a time to do Q&A, or just a sort of as a rote sort of summary of the program, so that people who might be joining, maybe it's just a link and we refer to the link. But what are your thoughts on that? Like 10 minutes or 15 minutes of Q&A. If nobody shows up like today, then there is no Q&A. But if 5 people show up with questions, using these meetings also as a public education opportunity.
I think that's a great idea.
I think that would be for the commission to do, I think.
Yeah, not with Jared, or Jared's replacement, but
Yeah.
somebody on the commission leading that conversation. Or
Yeah,
or Jeff, or Nadine.
Yeah, I think it would be good. What I'd add to that perhaps is, since we talked earlier about adding a button, there's a submit a question button, right? I know the email address is there, so that could be sufficient. Just text around if you have any questions. Send an email here. You might want to add also, if you have a question you'd like to address at an upcoming meeting. Again, maybe encouraging them to use the email address to the extent that we can get any in advance. Because what I think might happen is, what could happen in the open forum section is we get questions we can't just answer on the spot, or we shouldn't answer on the spot. So a lot of our answers may be, that's a great question. We will take that back and send you a response, or post a response with the meeting minutes or something such like that. But I do like the idea of having a segment that's set aside for public questions.
So are we assuming our meetings are an hour long generally? Or is that just because we're kind of still early stage before we get the rest of the commission on? Because I'm just trying to think about, and I think it's important to reserve time for public questions or comments. So if we carve out, let's say 15 minutes and we're an hour meeting, then roughly that's 45 minutes for kind of the meat of other agenda items. So, and if we think the meeting would go to an hour and a half, do we have to, is there an expectation of sort of notice to public that the meeting would be longer? Or, I don't, this is my first entree into kind of this kind of space, but I know that, with questions and conversation, certainly time can, and unexpected things, we could potentially end up going on a little bit longer than anticipated.
I think it makes sense to block out a certain amount of time, and then if it goes shorter, it's shorter. But at least we've given ourselves, and people are expecting. If that's 90 minutes, then I can't see us going longer than 90 minutes, except on those when we get toward the end of the year, when we have to prepare those recommendations for next year. I can see that being a much longer discussion if we're actually presenting a report. But this is a pretty long agenda that we have today, and I think we're going to get out of here in less than an hour.
Yeah.
So do you think it's a good idea that we start out by setting the expectation for an hour and 15 minutes for Q&A? And then you can always announce we'll go a little bit longer for anybody who wants to continue.
I think it's better to say it's going to be 90 minutes, and then if it only lasts an hour, but I'd like to hear what other people think.
Yeah, it's up to the commission.
What do you all
I mean,
think?
I would, whatever the balance is of preserving, our ability to be productive with also managing everybody's expectation, I think, whatever that balance is, certainly blocking a little bit more time than we need is better than, having folks feeling pressed for time, but without an expectation that we have to fill 90 minutes, I think that might, depending on the timing and the agenda of a meeting, saying 90 minutes probably makes sense.
Or we could
Yeah,
split the baby
I would
and go with it in 75 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, either one I think would be fine, 75 or 90. And I think, again, if we're going to publish an agenda in advance, I think if a little notation on the agenda that says meetings are scheduled to go for 75 or 90 minutes, but may not last that long. So, you should plan to, you shouldn't plan to attend at a certain time for a certain element. Some language that suggests that somebody shouldn't just pop in at the end to see if their question is answered, because they may pop in after we've all left. But I think either of those times work. It might be easier to go with 90 minutes just because we're not likely to ever go that long. But then if we start dragging on, we have at least can call the question and say, all right, well, we've exceeded, we're hitting our 90-minute limit. Do you want to table the rest of the next meeting?
Okay. Everybody agrees, 90 minutes? Okay. Thanks, Sam. Okay, and we can, where are we? So, do we want to now talk about the committee, or you want to discuss your committee nominations and committee mission member roles?
John, do you want, or
Yeah, I mean, I can throw my nomination back on the table. I think we're just about there. As nominating Charlie for the chair role, and I think so. I won't speak for Sam. I think you responded. Paris, did you respond? I can't remember now. So, who our respondents were? Tracy, you responded. So if we want to close out that process.
So we needed a chair and a vice chair.
Right. So I guess Paris and LaShonda are raising their hands. Is that is it a vote yes?
Am I unmuted? Or am
You
I
are
muted?
unmuted.
Okay. The mute button confuses me because it looks unmuted. I think that I didn't respond, but I would like to second the nomination for Charlie, and I'd also like to nominate John for vice chair. I'm not sure if we want to do that before we vote, have two people, but I'd like to nominate John.
Thank you.
I can ask a question real quick. I'm happy to vote and all of this stuff, but I just had a question of clarification. In terms of the council commission members, if you will, I'm trying to understand, they're joining this commission, right? Or will they have their own chair?
They're joining this commission.
Right, so, okay, so we're in a situation where they're going to be joining a commission where pretty much the chair and the co-chair has already been selected, and they won't have a voice in that.
Well, I mean, they could, there's 6 of them. There's another, 5 of them that are going to be confirmed, right? So I imagine they could ask for another, you know, they could ask for another vote because I don't know how that works. Maybe.
And literally, I don't either. This is why I'm asking just the question. I just want to make sure I understand, right? Just kind of how that works in terms of other voices that'll be coming a little bit later.
Yeah, I mean, I think eventually they will be here, assuming that. So the process being, I guess, Nadine, you said the 18th they were being read the first time.
Correct.
And so does that make it basically a 3-month process?
Not necessarily. Yitzi said that he would hold a hearing as quickly, as soon as they were
Okay.
read in, that he would hold a hearing for them. But then
Excellent.
there's the whole
The
schedule.
scheduling.
I mean, if you think about it, it's coming up on a year. It's going to be a year in like a month or so.
Yeah.
That we've been waiting for those other people to come on board. Who knows how
Yeah.
long?
And I think that's the thing. We have just business to take care of, and until we have, I mean, this is our first official quorum meeting, and we can't conduct any business. We can conduct business without a chair, perhaps a vice chair, but it is required of us to have them. And I don't know that it makes sense to wait any longer. And I don't know if anybody who would be entering in another couple of months would want to jump into a leadership role as one of the first activities in their participation.
So what is the term of the chair and the vice chair?
I think
And I guess it
15 years for the chair and 5 days for the vice chair.
we might need to reread that part, John. But I feel like there's going to be plenty for people to do. So if somebody's really stuck on the title, we could have that conversation. But I think we're official now, so we should have all the accoutrement of an official committee now. So
yeah, I think it provides, again, it satisfies the law, and I think it also just provides that formality that is expected of a commission like ours. So I would agree with you, Tracy, there.
So would we move forward with a vote? Or are there any other nominations for chair
Or vice chair?
or vice? Yeah, and do we want to vote together at the same time?
No, we should
Yeah, I
vote.
think we should probably vote for chair first, and then we can move on to the vice chair. So I think everybody has voted. And please correct me if I'm wrong, it's been a unanimous vote for Charlie for chair.
Do we have to do it do we have to do a voice vote since this is being recorded, or a hands up vote? So we have a record of all 6 of us voting.
I think we could just say aye.
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 Thank you all for your confidence, for having confidence in me.
Absolutely.
So, vice chair, the nomination is for John by Paris.
Aye.
All in favor? There's someone else. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Anybody want to nominate themselves? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Don, you are the vice chair.
Excellent. Happy to serve. Thank you very much.
And I don't think we need any. Are there other roles that we need? Those are the only 2 that are mandated. Okay. But functionally, There's nothing else.
Maybe that's something we want to revisit when we do have more commission members.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question. Now that we have a chair and vice chair, and we have a tab for meetings, will the commission have its own independent website from the Fair Election Fund, or will there be, Jeff, I don't know, a tab under the URL, under the meeting tab, a commission tab? How does that work?
I mean, I think most other city entities, the entity has a web page under the city domain, and then the members, have a tab. So,
Okay,
you'd be a tab that can be called commission, and then you all can decide what information you want up there about yourselves or otherwise.
and you can decide whether you want that to be just your name, an email, a brief bio, what have you. I can have our tech person set up the tab, and then, as Jeff said, you would decide what information you would like to populate in that tab.
What do you guys think?
I guess my thought would be let's to give it some thought, like do some brainstorming independently, maybe throw some ideas around as to what might go on there that wouldn't be on the main site. Nothing comes to mind right now. That's to me, but I don't know what others think.
I can send around the link to all the commissions, the link to all the commission websites, the link to the commission's page where you can visit websites and see what they look like. It's totally up to us. I think most of our work is going to be done through the Fair Elections Fund website. But I always believe in transparency and telling people who we are.
Right, no, that's a good point. Yeah, we'd have I guess the tab could at least identify the members and very short bio, that sort of thing.
Our biggest charge in the regulations is for us to do public education, and we have the PowerPoint / video. We have the website. I know I've heard that the state has committed to do two workshops. I was told one in this fall and one I think in the summer of next year, where it be somebody from the ethic campaign finance department, is what I'm being told from the advocates. They said that they spoke with Jared and locked stuff into the calendar. I don't have the dates. I can provide those to you. But I know Sam had gone on and planned to do a community education event, and I was the person who sort of like slowed it down. But it seems like we might want to think about doing something like that soon, because we're only a few months out from the election, 7 months out from the election, and right now nobody's really talking about this. Nobody's talking about it, and the conversations that I'm hearing, people are talking to people in Montgomery County, candidates from Montgomery County. We're talking about how hard it was to raise money. So it's definitely something that we need to talk about, how give people a head start in raising those small dollars. Any thoughts on? Sam, we're not you're not expending any money, but I am trying to raise money to that would help whatever if we can get.
I mean, I'm happy to, I mean, I do think a public event is worthwhile. We already put together, like, I already have like a kit, like a comp kit for it. So, you know, I'm happy to use the Baltimore Boats list to promote it. And, you know, reach out to partners. So, yeah, I think the question is just what date, you know, we could peg it to a year from the November election. If we did the first week of November. I think we had Impact Hub as the space lined up, so that's, you know, again, a
Oh, we
space.
can use City Hall as well.
Let's use City Hall. Hell yeah, let's use City Hall.
Yeah. You just have to find a date. And then think about, are there existing opportunities, existing events that we can sort of tag onto so we can plan ours, but then see if there are community events too that we might be able to tag on.
Do you mean tag on to like co-host it, or to that we would go separately to their events to give a presentation or an education?
That we could try to get space on their agenda to do like a brief, not a whole, you know, 40-minute training, but a brief training that I feel like there's two different sort of conversations we have to have. A conversation, there's the conversation that the PowerPoint and video addresses, that's for candidates and campaign staff. But I feel like there's a other conversation that is for regular voters, because somebody's going to be knocking on their door asking them to give them, you know, $5, $10, $15, and that, which is going to be sort of new because most candidates don't do that now. So I feel like there's this other piece of educating the public about this new program that they can contribute to. That will make sure that candidates use the program, right? So I feel like the latter can be a tag on to anything. Like, hey, we want to talk to you about this. The former, I feel like, takes more time.
Maybe we do our own event at City Hall. I love the idea of a year out from the general election. See how much, see how it goes, how many people we get and how much interest there is. Then maybe, well, I guess before and after then, we could reach out to other organizations and or events to give a small presentation that's targeted at the voters. And then maybe, depending on, you know, how we grow, doing an additional, our own event, like, I don't know, in early spring before the primary for voters. At which point we would have collected more information and hopefully have a wider, you know, people will know what we're talking about, or want to know what we're talking about because they'll have heard something.
Mm-hmm. Other folks, comments? Is everybody good with the idea of the first week of November? Any conflicts that you can think of?
No, that sounds good. I like the, you know, the connection with the year out. I just happen to think off the top of my head, I have a personal conflict, I think, on election day. So I'm presenting something else here in the city. But yeah, no, I think finding a date that week is good. It's also far enough away from Thanksgiving holiday. It's after Halloween, all that kind of stuff. So
it seems like that date coincides with what has already been sort of Jared's office, or the person the office formerly run by Jared, will that commitment that they made. So it falls into that time frame. Okay. And Sam, I'm happy to connect with you on the kit that you already have put together. And
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. And I think both Black Girls Vote and the League One voters have wanted to co-sponsor. So
probably Common Cause Maryland and the PERG, some of the other groups.
yes, they also.
Parties.
Yeah, so I think we can just go back to that list. And I guess one question I have is, this is like being hosted by the Fair Election Fund Commission, so we would need to clarify that.
We are already scheduled to meet the second Wednesday, which is the day after Election Day. So maybe we could combine, we do a quick commission meeting before or after the event, at the event.
Okay. Is that October 4th? No, November
8th.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I guess depending on space availability.
Nadine,
Well,
can you
the
check that?
this year, so.
Can you check to see if we can get space in City Hall for that day? Or we could just do it virtual. It might be in the middle of another COVID wave.
Well, we should definitely have virtual ability. I mean, it's hard to get to City Hall for a lot of people. Well, or get anywhere for a lot of people.
True. So that, so then maybe we can look at doing one in the community in the spring or early spring.
I'd almost suggest if I could, something like right after the holidays, because we want to get it in enough time before the primary. And what is the deadline for filing? Is the end of February?
I think it's beginning of February, but January 10th is the annual reporting, the finance deadline or finance reporting.
Yeah.
Although I don't know, probably after January 10th would make sense then.
Yeah, I agree. Earlier before the qualifying deadline.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I'll
I hate to present something where it's too good information but too late to act on.
February 9th is the filing deadline.
Okay, so we really are talking early January.
Maybe that one.
That's the 9th to 10th?
Of
the 9th or 10th of January. I think is it the 9th? I'm looking at my calendar and I know it's wrong. So I'm trying to estimate because I know I'm a day off in January.
Yeah, I mean, we could, the 10th is when we're meeting again. It's a regular scheduled meeting. Yeah. So that could be, again, using Paris's suggestion that we could just plan it that day too.
Is there any reason why we wouldn't want to conflict with, well, so January 10th is when is the deadline for reporting for the annual finance report, and then it has to
Right.
be reported on the 17th. But
I don't think
anyone who's
it's conflict.
plugged into
Yeah.
that is gonna know.
Yeah. I mean, those folks who are doing the reporting, they're either beyond this or they've gone through the initial phase and they're good with it, I would imagine.
And it's kind of that might be kind of cool to advertise it that way. It's like you've been, you've been bombarded with all these asks for money. Wouldn't it be great to move beyond that?
Mhm. But recognizing that they have to go through that the second part of this is like we're talking about the in-person, the actual trainings, but then there's sort of like a PR wing too. And so what are folks' thoughts about maybe through the fall doing, talk radio, dialing in and talking about the program?
Yeah, I think that Mike, the in some ways the point of the event is almost just to have a hook to get in the media. Like I just feel like it needs to be in the media for people.
Yeah, and is that Nadine and Jeff? Is that something that we can leverage the city's PR arm, the press office, simply just to put out a press release? So if we drafted something, would they release it on our behalf?
I think so, Jeff.
I mean, I think it'd be worth having a conversation.
Yes.
I mean, it wouldn't look like, it shouldn't come from one of the elected officials, obviously, and it would still need to come from you all. So I mean, maybe you could try to get a list of their, maybe just a list of their press contacts and their normal distribution list, and then you all can send something out under your name to that list. That might work.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys can ask them what the process is, I'm sure other commissions are doing something similar. So whatever works there, that'd be, I mean, it's just the same for us to send it out as it would be them. So if it's more appropriate, I hear what you're saying about it going under either the mayor's office or any elected official, any council member. So that would make sense.
And you have and currently the Fair Election Fund has a dedicated email address, so it could go out under that cover, and then you all could sign your names to it. I'm kind of spitballing, but that would make something that would make sense.
Yep.
Okay. Is there somebody who's interested in working on or has experience working with like the media or comms that would want to work on this?
I'm happy to take that.
Thank you.
Sure.
Those were all my thoughts about our work going forward. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that covers it. I'm cautiously optimistic we have 5 members coming on board in the next couple of months.
Well, we have 6, and I am very excited.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting that there are 6 of us all here today.
I know. The last thing that I wanted to raise is that in January we have to do this recommendation, and so I think we have to count backwards from January. So I have no idea how long it takes to put together these recommendations. Jeff, if you have any idea, or Nadine, is that something we could start in October and like have a.
I mean, seeing as how there's not going to be a lot of data for this particular report, it's hard to see what you would need to necessarily wait for before January. I mean, you could note the requirement, you could note if you see certain flaws or certain things you would like to recommend, at least at this stage, but you're not necessarily gonna have that experiential knowledge to pull on. So, I mean, really, it's up to you. I mean, I don't see it being an onerous report, at least at this point.
Okay. Just something that I wanted to flag. But-
Yeah, I definitely think the first paragraph is, this is our first year. And whatever else there is to say, we could, summarize what we've done and look forward to more robust recommendations the following year and not try to do too much the first year. But yeah.
Well, since Tracy just designed 80% of our report, maybe you'd be willing to take the point on that.
I will.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Sam. Is there anything else?
I do have a quick question about the canceled calendar invite, because that's not the first time I've actually seen that happen. Do we know what that was? That just
I
a
think
computer
it's
glitch, or-
that because the link is now on the website. I think that's why it was canceled. So I think the appointment in the calendar appointment had a different link. So should we delete all of that and send? I'd be happy to do that. That's one thing I can volunteer to do, to create a new one, and it would be a 90-minute appointment, and it'll always be that same link that's on the website. Is that why, Nadine? Because I think you created it.
We only did it yesterday, so you got a cancellation for the one that I sent out,
For today? Yeah.
For
and
today,
then you
yeah.
went in through the
Actually,
website.
Without without you sending the email, I actually thought the meeting was canceled, but I was like, okay,
Yeah.
that's the first time I've seen that, so let me ask about that.
I wasn't sure that it would do that. We were only worried that it would come from our administrator. We didn't even entertain that it would cancel what had already been distributed to the commission members and Jeff. Now as to, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that code for this meeting, it exists on the website or information about today's meeting, so that we can continue we're gonna use the same one.
Correct.
So sounds like what you're suggesting, Paris, would work. Just send out a new invite for the same dates and then just put the meeting information in the description.
Then whoever created it initially, which I guess Nadine, you initially made it, can you just delete the whole thing? And
So
then
delete my recurring to each of us. Okay.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think just send a new one with the 90-minute allotment as a recurring invite, second Wednesday, and then we'll just need to update that link on the public facing page.
So Paris, you're going to send out the recurring? Is that what we're saying?
Yes.
And then,
But first you should delete what you've created.
okay.
And
Paris,
Paris is
can
just gonna copy and paste the current Zoom, so that will work for all the subsequent meetings. Is that correct, Jeff and Nadine, or?
The
Well,
one that is,
I'm just wondering if it needs to go out from the person who is administering the Teams, like on the internal city side of things. It might be easiest all around if Nadine just sends out an updated invite.
That makes sense.
And then we just update the link on the webpage. But
Yeah, that's
appreciate
why I got canceled.
appreciate the volunteering.
yeah,
And
because you're right. I think because Ken is the owner, our internal person.
So is the link that is on the website going to stay the same? Like this meeting, the link that we all click to join this, will it always be the same?
I think we will, to Jeff's point, I think we will have, once I set up the 90-minute recurring, I'll cancel the existing, redo it. Then we will need to as Jeff did yesterday, he gave that link that we all were sent, that recurring link weeks ago, and he posted it to our web page, right? So I will go back and do the same process, cancel the existing, set up the new 90-minute, and then we'll upload that to our administrator. And that update will then go on to the web page.
And that the
And
link
then it
on
will
the
be, it
website
will,
always be the same. So we can
correct.
publicize that for the future for public meetings for people to.
yes,
It's my understanding that link will work for all of the recurring meetings for you all and for the public then as well. And it looks like the public link worked because
Yes.
Joanne Antoine is now in the meeting.
Yeah.
great. So we know that for sure. I tested it internally, but I didn't know what it would look like public facing.
Excellent. And that was a question I had. Since it's a public meeting, whoever is managing this on the teams, if we have a disruptive person or we have a large group that we have to manage in terms of, giving people access to mute and unmute folks, is that something that Nadine or I guess, do you have that capability within Teams? I'm just thinking if it'd be a nice problem to have with too many people and we have to have people raising their hands and somebody unmuting and muting folks.
Or we could request that any questions go into the chat and Jeff and myself could monitor the chat or.
Yeah, that would certainly work, but.
Based on my other experience with using Teams for public meetings, I'm pretty sure the administrator, so Nadine, would have the option of muting the non commission member participants. And Nadine, if you need some help with that, maybe we can work on that together. But I'm pretty sure that that's a functionality that you have as the administrator.
I could as the owner. I was just trying to be polite.
Oh no, of course, but you never know. I mean, let alone sometimes just the feedback alone. If people aren't muting, it just becomes problematic. So
yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, you and I would still like to walk through it with you, Jeff.
Speaking of scheduling and calendars for the events we want to hold in November and January, would we want to say they're at 6 o'clock so we could have an hour-long, short-ish meeting, and then the public would start at 6? Or is 6:30 a better time for people to get there? What do you think?
Can we maybe handle that offline?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we can talk about that offline. Is there any new agenda items? Welcome, Joanne. Okay. Then we're at 6 o'clock. Miraculously, we filled those 60 minutes.
Well, very good. This is productive. This is great.
I guess we need a motion to adjourn or.
Motion to adjourn. Sam, were you offering a motion to adjourn?
Offering a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? I guess we don't vote. You don't vote on adjournment? Is that it?
Aye.
Great.
Okay.
All right, folks. Have a great rest of the day.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye
I'll
all.
see you all soon. Bye now.